Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by my channel. Tony here, Tony's LPs Are Us. We're in Studio B where we keep our Bond and our Beatles, which is an appropriate setting because we're going to talk a little bit about both actually. We're going to talk a lot about one and a little bit about the other. That's because this little video segment from Tony's LPs Are Us is about the great legendary session British guitar player, Vic Flick. Now Vic Flick was 87 years old. Passed away a few days ago on November 14th, 2024. He was born in May 14th, I believe, of 1937. And I think he was sick. He passed away, but I kind of, I got word about it early on. And from some people I know in England that I keep in touch with, basically on Facebook and stuff. But when I checked our internet, it wasn't listed yet, but then the next day it was actually published that he had passed away. So my condolences to all his family and friends and anyone close to Mr. Flick. I met him, and I got him to sign this for me. This is from the year 2000. I'm not sure when I actually got this signed, but this is cool because he's actually performing again some of his early Bond themes that he did. He actually was the person, as you probably know by now, is the person who had that great riff of the James Bond theme that is universally known. You hear that, you think of James Bond. It was the James Bond theme. Whenever Bond would pop in and out of a scene, that theme would usually play in the background, and that brought the audience's hair on the back of their necks. That's how good this was. Now, Flick was a guitar player at a young age, like around 14 or so. I think he also played piano, so he could sight read. He got a job playing guitar for Paul Anka, who was touring England at the time. Now, I'm thinking this is late 50s. Paul Anka was probably 16 or 17 years old. The same Paul Anka that wrote My Way for Mr. Frank Sinatra. So we all know Paul Anka is still touring today. So anyway, on that tour, he got to meet John Barry, who was also on that tour with the John Barry 7. And the John Barry 7 was John's little band that they did, progressive jazz, rhythm and blues, rock type of things, back in the early 60s. And he asked Flick to join his band because he knew Flick could sight read. And, that was kind of a rare commodity in guitar players back in the day. Like Jimmy Page cannot read music. The Beatles, Paul McCartney and John, don't read music. They could see the chords, but they can't sight read. So Flick was able to sight read, and he got the gig. And then later on, John Barry got the gig he got the contract to do the first James Bond film, to score that film, Dr. No. And Flick was right there with him. When they came up with the idea for a theme, John Barry and Monty Norman had this theme in mind as like a bold type of interesting jazz detective type of thing, which you will hear it and that there's either danger lurking or whatever attribute you want to give to it. So him and Vic, John Barry and Vic, were fooling around with it, and Peter Hunt, who was the editor, I believe, of at the time, who was the editor, and Peter Hunt's been with the Bond series probably up until his last days. He said to John Barry and Flick, I guess, that we need something stronger. We need something like that tune you did for the movie Beat Girl. Now, Beat Girl was a 1960 British film about a young girl, probably 17 or 18, who was rebelling against her parents. Her father had just remarried a young French girl, possibly a little older than the protagonist. So Beat Girl was a big hit. The song was a big hit, and you could hear it on YouTube. And if you listen to that, it's got the foundation. It's got that rhythm, that tremble that Vic played, because Vic also played on Beat Girl. He also had some other things in mind, but they got it down where Peter Hunt was satisfied, Eon Productions was satisfied, and the rest is history. So Vic played on the majority of the Bond films. I believe probably all the Connery films, which I'll show you a few albums. But interesting fact that he also played guitar on the movie Help, the soundtrack. At the end of the film, he was the one who played guitar on Ringo's theme, This Boy. And that's this record here, the original UA production. And you can see it here. It's track 4 on side 2, Ringo's theme, This Boy, instrumental. So when you see Ringo walking, contemplating whatever, that's Vic Flick playing that guitar. Then on Help, in the beginning of the U.S. Help, the record, not on the UK version of the soundtrack, but on Help, if you play that record on this soundtrack, you'll hear the intro of the James Bond theme, and that's a Vic Flick recording. He didn't necessarily play it in the studio like he did with This Boy or Ringo's theme, but he is on that. And it's really cool because if you listen to the British LP of Help or any subsequent recordings from the UK, Help does not start with the James Bond intro. And I always thought that was cool because I was a big Bond fan. Another reason is Help was filmed 63, 64 at the same time that Thunderball was being filmed in the Bahamas, where Help was being filmed. So that's that little history there. But he went on to play on hundreds, if not thousands, of hit recordings and albums. He played with Nancy Sinatra. He played on a few Herman Hermits tracks. This one here has one of the songs that he definitely talks about. It's a Silhouettes, which is a great song. And by the way, this recording on MGM, Hermits is usually $1 record or a $2 record or a $5 record. This record sounds amazing. This is one of my best sounding records on MGM. It's just vivid. It has audiophile quality to it. I wanted to point that out. He also worked on Hooked on a Feeling, B.J. Thomas, the great B.J. Thomas, Hooked on a Feeling. So he was all over the place. He also played guitar for Petula Clark's Downtown. And this is an original Downtown. This actually is a gold bass stereo, gold Warner back in the day. So this is early pressing, Warner Brothers gold. So he was on this record. He was on It's Not Unusual, which is the great Tom Jones. And that's signed when I met him. I got him to sign an album. I also have some great memories talking to him. He's such a humble guy, which reminds me, so was Mr. Flick. If you watch any of the interviews on YouTube, he's just a humble guy. He's not intense. He doesn't brag. He thanks the day that he was able to play the iconic Bond song, because that's the song that set him apart. And like I said, Peter Hunt liked the song Beat Girl, and that's where they got the rhythm. It also there's also another song called Poor Me, which I picked up on some of my readings, that actually sound a lot like the inner workings of that dun 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 dun. And that's it's called Poor Me, and it's on YouTube. So if you look that up, Poor Me. Now, as far as the guitar that he played the Bond theme on originally was a Clifford Essex Paragon Deluxe. That was the guitar he played the session, because his Strat, he had a 61 white Strat or a 60 Strat that was lost in some type of scuffle. So at the time they were recording the James Bond theme for the album, for the original soundtrack, he used that Paragon Deluxe. But when they re-recorded it for a single, when they re-recorded the James Bond theme for a single, he went back and had gotten another white 61 Strat, which he used. So just a great guy. It's a shame that he passed away, but let's face it, just imagine all the people he met. He has a funny story about Frank Sinatra. Like I said, he worked with Nancy. I'm not sure what records he worked with Nancy, because his credits for his music is kind of obscure. I don't have his autobiography. He does have an autobiography, which is hard to find, and I'm sure there he lists every piece of music that he was involved in, because he ended up selling. If you go to Pawn Stars, the American, I guess it's Las Vegas reality show, Pawn Stars, which on for years, he walked into the shop and Rick was the proprietor, comes out with the 61 Strat, which he kind of insinuates that he played the James Bond theme on it. He didn't play it on the soundtrack, but he played it on a single. And he subsequently sold that guitar to Rick at the pawn shop for, I believe, $55,000 back then, was probably a while ago. I thought that would go for more. I think later on, Rick probably put it at auction, so I'm not sure what that went for at auction. But that guitar had, tremendous, value as far as songs of the 60s and probably 70s. So you can look that up and see that on YouTube. He also did, like I said, the Hermits. Here's another greatest hits. This also has the song on it as well. What else can I tell you about? And like I said, I met him. Here's his great signature. He was a great guy, very humble. He played on the Peter and Gordon record, World Without Love, which is a John Lennon and Paul McCartney composition. That's this record. That's autographed as well. I believe I met Peter. Yeah, I met Peter at a show. He came out, signed records. I was, smart enough to bring albums with me, and he signed a few of them for me, which was really nice. So, World Without Love. Here's just for John Barry's record that he put out under his name. John Barry plays Goldfinger. I'm sure Vic Flick is on these. If these were re-recorded, I'm sure Vic Flick was on those. If I said Rick Flick, that's kind of an oddity. But Vic Flick. He also went out, and in '89, he was called back to do a License to Kill. So this is License to Kill. This is not John Barry, but he was able to do License to Kill, which is cool because there's photographs in this book, which is a great book on the music of James Bond. There's the author there. Has numerous photos. This has just about everything to a certain point, of course, like everything does. This was 2012, so it's kind of old. It's outdated. Maybe we'll get a new one. But this is a great book, and there's photos of Flick playing guitar on the session for License to Kill. This is another great CD that I have as far as my Bond CD collection. This is with the Philharmonic of Prague, I believe. Let me just double check that. But I can't really tell. It's Bond back in action, and on this he plays with the orchestra, and it's actually featuring Vic Flick, as you can see there. So this is a really cool soundtrack. It's Bond back in action, from Dr. No to Diamonds Are Forever. So this is the Philharmonic in Prague, conducted by Nick Rain. So this is a really good album. This is actually a digital recording to the utmost, but it sounds perfect. Obviously, it's not on record, or else I'd probably try to get this on record, but it's on CD. So there you have it. Here's some Shirley Bassey. He also played with some sessions for Shirley Bassey. Like I said, Tom Jones. Who else? Numerous people. Nancy. Just numerous people. Here's the original from Russia with Love, which he was on. I didn't pull the Dr. No, but that's the first time we heard the great James Bond theme, which is on that John Barry record. Here's a Thunderball. This is a stereo Thunderball. So just a loss in the music world, just a loss in the Bond world. you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you don't see these folks. You're thinking, you know, hopefully they're okay. Maybe they're dead already. I didn't really think about Vic Flick. And then I heard, like I said, online that he had passed away. So my condolences to him. But he had a funny story about Sinatra, where he was going to do a session with Sinatra at a studio, and I forget the studio. It could have been, well, it was a studio in London, obviously. Sinatra did an album, Songs of London, if you know Sinatra, the one album he recorded there. And Sinatra was setting up, you know, studios that he felt comfortable in. And Vic had a schedule based on this particular studio, and the name escapes me. But Rick was psyched. He had everything marked out. But Sinatra's people, these guys in suits, as Vic Flick said, these guys in suits would check out the studio to see if it was to Mr. Sinatra's liking. So he went to this particular studio. They checked it out, seemed good, and one of the guys said to the guy, "Well, where's the elevator?" And he goes, "There is no elevator, sir. We use stairs." And he says, "Well, we can't use this because Mr. Sinatra don't like stairs." So because of that, Sinatra had to find another studio which could accommodate him that was ground level. Now, for some reason, Sinatra didn't walk stairs. I've never heard that story. I know a lot about Sinatra. I didn't confirm that, but I heard Rick tell that story in 2 interviews. So because of that rescheduling with a different studio in England, in London, Mr. Flick wasn't able to accommodate that schedule. So subsequently, he was not able to play with Mr. Frank Sinatra. So there you have it. Really cool stuff. James Bond theme, iconic, right? Can't get any better than that. And let me see what else we have. Well, let's just show this again. I'm really proud of this autograph. So that's it. Keep rocking. And thank everyone for stopping by. Thank everyone for subbing. If you haven't subbed to this show, please consider it. We really appreciate it. Please like if you like to like. And we'll see you later. So rest in peace, Mr. Flick. He will live on. He will live on. He is... it's just... you can't put into words what that James Bond theme has done for the James Bond franchise. It's just a accidental boom piece of music that Vic and John Barry had said they didn't think it was going to go where it went into the stratosphere. And thanks to Peter Hunt for bringing up that Beat Girl record. So I'll list it on the description here. Look up Beat Girl. Look up Poor Me. I'll list the artist, and you'll hear that underlining theme because they got that idea from somewhere, but Vic was able to translate it to his Paragon Deluxe, and then later on to his Strat. And like I said, the rest is Bondian history. And of course, on the Beatles record, Help, which is cool. So keep rocking. See you soon. Stay well. Ciao.